All right, so could you repeat the first question for me?
Absolutely. In a nutshell, the first question is this. Looking at how Israel received so much grace but still failed to obey and ended up perishing in the wilderness, what do you think that teaches us today about the link between receiving God's blessings and continuing to obey Him?
So it means that receiving the grace of God is not the only thing that we should remember. Even though we experience God's profound grace, we humans are inherent with a sinful nature. So each always we must always remain vigilant not to go back to sin. And also, even though we are given the strength to obey the word of God upon the moment we confess our faith in God, we may we may return to our old habits of living in disobedience. So, uh, while remembering the grace of God, the gracious gift of salvation given to us, it is also essential for us to remain vigilant against sin, disobedience, and unbelief.
That's a really thoughtful reflection. I think you nailed it. It's that combination of remembering God's grace and also staying on guards that we don't drift back into old patterns of disobedience. It's like Israel's story really shows us that receiving blessings doesn't mean we can just relax and forget about obedience. So let me ask you a follow up. How do you think we can practically keep ourselves vigilant in our daily lives so that we maintain that obedience?
That we must remember the eternal consequence of our actions. And also, we must consider the end, and we must reflect on the ends of individuals recorded in the Bible. I mean, the Bible's main focus in the Old Testament history focuses on the how each individual faced their end. Adam, Enoch, Israelites, Abraham. The Bible records the end of all these individuals so that the readers today can reflect on their own end and remember God's judgment at the end of the day and always be mindful of the internal consequences of their actions, either obedience or disobedience.
Absolutely. And that's a great way to put it. It's like we're constantly invited to look at these biblical examples, not just as history lessons, but as personal mirrors. So, by reflecting on how their stories ended, we keep that awareness of the eternal consequences of our own choices. And I think that's a really practical way of staying vigilant, just always keeping that eternal perspective in mind. Let's keep this conversation rolling. What else stood out to you from the passage that you think we should dig into next?
I don't know. It's up to you. I don't. I would just answer the question. Any question you have in mind.
Sounds good. We've got plenty of directions we can go. Let's maybe dig a little into that theme of the race to heaven that we touched on. In your view, how does thinking of our spiritual journey as a race help us understand both the urgency and the discipline that Paul is talking about?
I think he made an analogy of a race to emphasize the fact that only a few will enter heaven. This is a very hard truth, but this is a truth that has been manifested throughout the history in the Bible.
Yeah, exactly. It's definitely a sobering image that Paul uses. And I think you're right. It really drives home that sense of urgency and discipline. It's like he's reminding us that not everyone who starts the race finishes it. And that makes it all the more important to stay focused and committed. All right, let's keep rolling with this. Since we're on this theme, what do you think are some practical ways we can help each other as fellow believers to stay on track in this race?